Hi everyone, and welcome to EULAR 2025. My name is Tiffany Westrich-Robertson. I'm the CEO at AiArthritis, who is leading this program, and also a person living with non-radiographic axial spondyloarthritis. I'm going to give a report for a couple of the sessions that I saw yesterday, which was day one. It was a half day, and there's also a couple other sessions that I saw that I did a separate report as well. So in this one, I'm going to focus on an abstract, which are posters. They're overviews of things that the researchers have done. They're like posters. Actually, they're right behind me too, so you can see all of these posters. So these are summaries of the research, and we call them abstracts. And so these abstract sessions are where a whole bunch of the same topic, so in this case psoriatic arthritis, and they group these research together, and then they end up presenting. So about 5 minutes to present, 5 minutes question and answer. And so there were several different treatments that they were talking about. Most of them were in biologic form, so these are either injections or infusions that many of you are familiar with. And then they also were comparing them to how effective that these can be in early disease. So when you're very, very early on, should a doctor start with a biologic, or is it okay to do just the regular step-up treatment, which usually involves methotrexate or some kind of disease-modifying agent? Also, you might see it called a DMARD for the acronym. And so apparently there were a couple research publications not too long ago that showed in early psoriatic arthritis that it wasn't necessary. There wasn't a lot of change to start somebody early on the biologics. So the recommendation stayed for step-up therapy. Start with methotrexate, move on to a biologic if that makes sense. Now, that is also a process called treat to target. So treat to target is when you work with your rheumatologist, and they have you on a therapy, and you meet with them as frequently as you can, and then they decide with you and talking about how you feel and some clinical laboratory like blood work type of things. Perhaps they might do an exam, and together you decide, is this treatment plan really working for me? Am I achieving the highest quality of life that I'm looking for? So in saying that, they'll adjust. And in this case, again, it just came back that with the very early onset, that starting with methotrexate was an okay way to go. However, there was another study that is more recent, and they said the people who were included in those original trials may not have been in severe psoriatic arthritis. So you have to remember, with our diseases, there is such thing as mild, moderate, and severe. And so there are efforts to try to kind of delineate what exactly falls under that criteria. But we do know that some people present with elevated blood markers, or they could have swollen, hot joints. Maybe they have, in psoriatic arthritis in particular, a psoriatic rash, dactylitis, enthesitis, which is of the tendons, and which is sometimes more prominent than in the joints. And so how severe is that at onset? And that study, they included those people, and in that study they did show that after 48 weeks that there was significant improvement in the patient. There was a difference in the ones who were treated early with biologics. So that is something that's really important for patients to know. It just depends a lot. What is prescribed to your friends might not be exactly what's right for you, right? Because we're all a little bit different. And so that's why talking to your doctor is very, very important. There was also some studies into enthesitis, particular, and dactylitis, and there was a lot of good findings on some of the biologics in how effective they are for treating those. And again, enthesitis being of the tendons. So you could have enthesitis, a lot of times we think of it in your feet, but it can be in a lot of different areas in your body, even in your chest. And it's a form called costochondritis, and that's very common in people with spondyloarthritis diseases. So those were the main ones that I did see. There was one more that was a newer drug that is in trials right now, or I'm sorry, was in trials, and now it's what they call post. So once something is post or on the market for a while, and they were talking about with a 3-year use that patients with psoriatic arthritis were finding that they were still at 50% improvement. They call that an ACR, or American College of Rheumatology 50, ACR 50. That's a measurement tool for clinical trials. And so they achieved that in the trial, and 3 years later still had that. So that shows also how long a biologic could last at the same efficacy. So that's really exciting to me too, because we don't know how long these biologics are going to last, but that one stayed solid for 3 whole years. So just know that there are these treatments out there that they're continuing to study, continuing to make sure that they're matching the right people to the right treatments per subgroup, per things that might be more inflamed with you, like in this case, enthesitis or dactylitis. So it's nice to know that those are being tested for things that really matter the most to patients.